Hey everybody, welcome back to Alpha the Podcast. Say hello everybody.
Hi.
Hi, everybody.
Hi everybody. I'm Joe, I'm next to Kyle, and here always is Nick.
Hi, Joe.
Hey,
Hi,
guys.
Kyle.
How was
Hi.
your week? How was it? A lot of books.
I was sick. Sick as a damn dog
Well,
this
what's
week.
better when you're sick?
Still
than
sick.
some comics.
Yeah, I know. I still get the congestion going, but I'll
Did you
try
read
and
the-
suffer through.
So you read the Campbell Soup #1 this week?
Yes.
Going number 1? That's pretty good.
And a lot of Sudafed. A whole run of Sudafed.
We got a great show lined up for you tonight, guys. We're going to talk about the previews we gave you last week. We read them. We know it. We're going to tell you. It's going to be great. Stick around for that. We're going to have another recommendation from Kyle. Something pretty good. Kind of ties into our news theme that we've been kicking around. Nick, you read some really good stuff this week. You're kind of pumped to talk about what you're going to talk about.
I'm always pumped to talk about what I want to talk about, Joe.
You're just pumped. You're just a jacked individual.
I am excited.
I'm so excited.
Where
So-
are we?
We're going to show you the previews of next week. Stuff that's coming out, as always. Look ahead. What are you going to buy on New Comics Wednesday? We'll tell you what we're going to buy. So stick around for all of that and more. And you might even get a few clinks of the beer, if you're lucky.
Only if you're lucky, though.
Only if you're lucky.
Well, you're drinking wine.
Yeah.
You're all fancy and
I'm not
whatnot.
drinking wine.
Classy.
Keep it classy, guys.
Classy and a shark hat.
Wine, sharks love wine. It's a fact.
I'm pretty sure
Grapes
that's
and
true.
sharks
No,
and
that's
seals.
that's slud,
Oh,
not
yeah.
wine. Close. Very, very close.
Well, one of the comics I'm going to talk about this week. Well, never mind that. Let's get
I'm just imagining like a Jabberjaw style like shark just like swirling a glass of wine. It breathes.
I like that. You brought the Jabberjaw into that. Good job.
Classic.
Well, let's kick it right off. Enough of this wine shark talk.
Yes.
Enough of this silliness. Kyle, take us through, highlight, if you will, the books you read this week.
I would have to highlight because there's a lot. So
Yeah,
I'll just kind
yes.
of go through the big stuff.
You guys should see behind the scenes content. We all wrote down a little bit. We all have like 1 or 2 lines. Kyle has like 5 lines of shit.
I have a problem. It's the truth. The first thing I read, just like out of the gate, if you remember last week, I brought up my top 3. Batman 28 was number 1, and it did not disappoint. This was the flash forward into like 6 months to a year in story time of what you're going to see coming up in Batman Eternal.
I remember you telling me about it.
And it's just crazy. Like, they don't obviously give you too much. It's a lot of like, oh, I wonder what's going on. Like, some kind of disaster happened in Gotham. A ton of people are infected with some kind of biological disease, or we don't really know what. A character that was brought in, like, I think in the run you read, Harper Row.
Yeah.
She's now working with Batman in, like, a kind of Nightwing-looking suit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that was like, okay, so I don't know how she got in there, but that's cool. There's some kind of mystery character they don't show you, kind of working the logistics in the Batcave for Batman. I don't know where Alfred is. I don't know if he's even alive still, but
Yeah, see, for me, this is a lot of fun because I'm only buying the hardcovers of the Batman series.
Yeah.
I got the Court of Owls and Death of the Family on hardcover, and I'm waiting for all of those accounts so you can have the hardcover and read them all at once.
Yep.
And trying to avoid everything, especially doing this, is hard as hell.
If you were trying not to have spoilers, I hope you know that Alpha the Podcast, you know what?
oh yeah.
Just get your mute button ready at any time. We
Yeah,
usually
but-
say the title. You have enough time. Batman 28. No.
But yeah, at the same time, though, I'm waiting long enough for the hardcover to come out, so I figured out what happens in Death of the Family before anything, especially with, like, everyone's like, oh, comic book series of the year, and I'm like, god damn it.
It's so hard with the popular series to avoid. Like, you get maybe a day before the internet's like, here it is.
It's
I
like
find
trying
that-
to watch anything on Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones,
Oh
and
my
then
God,
also
I know.
looking at Twitter.
Don't
It's
read,
not
don't
gonna
read
happen.
Twitter.
Twitter is the devil. You're trying to avoid spoilers.
Your Batman, I remember you talking about last week. It sounded great. It sounded dystopian and cool.
It was really cool because, like I said, it didn't give you too much, but it gave you a nice idea of like shit's gonna change like big time for Batman, and it all looks cool. Let's see, what else was big? Superior Spider-Man, the Goblin Nation I talked about, that kicked off. Really cool story. They did a time jump to where Goblin's kind of just taking shit over. So he's like running New York City now. He let Superior Spider-Man know that he knows that he's really Otto, that he's Doc Ock. He just kind of dropped that bomb like, oh yeah, I know who you are.
I'm liking the series more and more. I really don't like that it's ending, because it's funny when it started, and I was saying this, man, I just bring back Peter Parker.
did
And
the
now
same
that we're
thing.
this thing, I'm like, ah, damn, I really like where this was going.
Well, it was a really cool idea for them to do that, and the fact they pulled it off so well.
Oh yeah.
Doc is likable. When did you ever think you're gonna be like, I really relate to this man?
Let me stop being a
He's my
fat nerd
favorite.
with extra robot arms.
Right.
He looks cool. But yeah, it was really good. It was well done, like a first part, and I don't know where they're gonna go with Parker coming back because they showed him like in like the Mindscape where he's kind of like hiding out still, and he only has like he said like 31 original memories that Doc Ock didn't purge. So when he comes back, he's gonna essentially be coming back like with nothing.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they pull this off because he's going to come back almost as like a blank slate from the way they're making it seem right now.
Which could be cool.
Yeah.
Because if any part of this Superior Spider-Man sticks into what Spider-Man will be from now on, especially maybe in a movie, years later, oh my god, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Right. The other big one was All New X-Men 23. Again, just a great comic. Great banter. Iceman is friggin' hilarious.
Bendis at his finest.
You guys were talking about this off camera. I was kind of laughing at the Iceman jokes. You know we're comic nerds when you guys are just retelling a joke that you two read and I didn't even read, and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Sweet.
Well, what it does is every time I read anything with Guardians of the Galaxy and with Groot and Rocket Raccoon, and you just sit there and you see about this movie, and everyone talks about like it's not going to work. People are going to be confused because everybody's going to be asking the same questions that like Beast and Iceman were asking about it, and how they're getting really creeped out by the tree that just keeps saying "I am Groot."
And the raccoon twirling a gun.
They're just like raccoons just sitting there piloting the whole ship, and Iceman's just like basically poking it with a stick to try and get what it says. Like, if that's what the movie's going to be, this movie is going to be the greatest freaking thing on
Oh,
the
for
planet.
sure it will be. Murdered you. Blam. I love it. I think Rocket Raccoon's going to be like the action figure to get, and I want it. I'm all for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
All right, I'll kind of bullet point through some of the next ones. Avengers 26, again, if you're not reading it, I can't explain it to you because Hickman's just weaving this intense story between like 3 titles. But it was another good addition. Superman, Wonder Woman, basically just a huge fight comic with General Zod from the Man of Steel movie. That was just badass. JLA 12, continuing the Forever Evil arc. Nightwing 28. Getting to the end of the series, he might be getting killed.
Oh, just gonna drop that bomb right there, like
Yeah.
casually.
I like how you're just like, I'm going to glance over these really quick. Nightwing might die next.
Next, moving on.
So in Forever Evil, he got captured, unmasked, and shown to the world, and he's kind of at the mercy of the crime syndicate, and his series is ending. So it's kind of a... Is he going to die?
What if
is he
Doc
just going to
Ock
get...
takes over his mind?
He jumps to a different universe.
Stan Lee would. I can't even justify that.
I
I'm
know.
not saying anything about it.
Let's see. The surprise for me this week of how much I liked it was one that I kind of hemmed and hawed about buying, and it was She-Hulk #1, and I really liked it. Like, I was shocked how much... I thought it was going to be good, but I really liked this. The art was fantastic. The writing was fantastic. For me, it's up there in that same vein of Hawkeye and Daredevil, where it's got inventive art, great story, and just not the kind of mainstream stuff you're reading every day about superheroes.
I might have made this up, but I thought you said something really misogynist about this book.
I might have.
Probably made that up. Not you. I think it
Oh,
was...
him?
Yes.
Oh, I believe that much more.
Yeah.
I could have incepted it, or it could have been projected.
Well, for me, like, I was reading this, and it was one of those books, again, where it was like, She-Hulk, you know, it was a #1. I don't really know what I was going to get into it, but I was
Right.
like, well, it's a #1. It's like, what, $2.99, somewhere around there. Like, screw it. But I ended up buying it, and it's exactly like that Hawkeye book. And I love it because I think I was reading the review on IGN that said, if it wasn't for books like Hawkeye, this would have never happened. And I completely agree, and I fucking love it for that, because if more books like this, where it's just superheroes, and it's not so much about the superheroes and their power, that's just kind of like a back thing, but it's actually just kind of like, here's this person doing their off time, and just something completely different out of these characters. It's like, I loved it.
Right. I thought you said something about the writer, or like the casting, or something in She-Hulk or two, I thought.
No, I love the writer because he was actually, what did he have, a degree in paralegal?
He is an actual practicing lawyer.
Yeah. So when she is a lawyer in the book as well, so when they're going through all the legal terms and all those little
Right.
documents, and that there's like one chat bubble that she's talking to what's a Tony
Legal,
Stark's
the-
legal guy.
Yeah, the
And
guy's
he's
actually
like,
named
the-
Legal. That's
yeah.
the best part. I am
The,
legal.
the font is getting smaller and smaller because he's talking so
Like
long.
just
and it's
legal
the
minutia
exact
of
right
just-
legal stuff. And I was sitting there, and I actually was sitting there, and it's one of those things where you wouldn't think that you're really interested in reading about it because it's all legal crap. But I remember just moving my tablet closer to my face, trying to.
I must
read
absorb all of
it.
this.
I'm gonna have to read it. I passed over this week.
The art was
You guys-
really cool too. It's just the same thing, just different. You know, it's not it's not your traditional like. It's almost like a watercolor kind of thing,
Yeah.
almost going on there. So, but the art was really cool. I thought it fit really well because your superhero books are so focused on like the action and everything's got
Right.
together. Where this one was just kind of like it's a courtroom. So you,
Well,
yeah,
And she was always funny anyway,
Uh,
Jessica.
All right, well, that's me. Nick, what you got? After you finish your
Yes.
fine sip of
Well, I started
dusty
off.
water.
One of the first ones I read was All New X-Men, Trial of Jean Grey. We touched on that one. Great freaking story that's going on. Went through Deadpool 23. That one was, I think, one of like you're starting to see where Deadpool's really coming into character now, and now that they've got kind of a footing and a following, especially after Good, Bad, and the Ugly, where everyone was kind of shaky, and then that came out, and everyone's like, "Yep, this is gonna be great." And it was just, if you like the movie Alien,
I know I saw that cover. That was hilarious.
it was basically one of the greatest things because Deadpool's taking down this helicarrier, but he's doing it in ways that mimic the movie Alien.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it's just
cover
like they're
made me
just
laugh so
yeah,
hard this
they're
week.
just throwing back to this, and like you have like these two people that are bantering in one like lab desk in a science lab, and they're making like Breaking Bad jokes about cooking meth because it's a science lab. Well, meanwhile, Deadpool's in the back like stealing all their lab equipment to like set up all these alien freaking
Nice.
like invasions, and he's taking them out and like killing the guys one by one.
Nick, they're xenomorphs, okay?
Okay,
That's right.
Sorry, get it right.
sorry,
Xenomorphs.
I'm sorry.
I will
But it
power
was-
loader you. I will get in my power loader and move you around. So going
It's just great. It's going back to just like you read these comic books, and it was funny because I was reading Winter Soldier, that was like the Bond movie, and it's very serious, and X Force was super serious, and I got into Deadpool, and they're joking around, and Phil Coulson's sitting there asking like, pissed off that he blew up an entire helicopter and is going to go in the ocean, and Namor is going to be all pissed off, and Deadpool's like, yeah, I call it extreme littering. I've done worse. It's just it's good
You
to have
love
like that
Deadpool.
little break.
Oh, dude, I love Deadpool.
Yeah.
I can't. When that run came out with Brian Posehn, that was one of the biggest Marvel events of the Marvel now generation for me. I think it's going to get overlooked. I don't think people are going to give it the
Yeah.
credit it really deserves.
It is like it's almost kind of amazing because Deadpool he has that cult following, but if you really talk to a lot of people, it's not your A list. Like people aren't running
Right.
out to like buy. They're not
Right.
rushing to press the second printings on all those of the Deadpool books.
They should be for the Dead Presidents. That start
That was a great run.
So good, dude.
Well,
Teddy
Dead
Roosevelt.
Presidents was freaking
How many
great.
Rough Riders jokes did he make in that one book?
But that's the thing, I love that. The next one that was really good that I loved a lot was the Thor, because I was just getting to the point where I was just kind of like, maybe I shouldn't.
This was a dot now, wasn't it?
Yeah,
One of those famous Marvel dot nows.
but it was one of those where
Stupid
they put those
shit.
fillers in, and it came out, and they put it out, and it was just kind of reading back to it, and it went back to that whole Thor from the future sitting there, and he's still on Earth, and Earth is deserted, and freaking, Thor's trying to basically hook up with this chick on Earth who's an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and just interfering completely and screwing over the one guy that was, I don't know, it's some separate corporation.
Oh, Roxxon?
Yeah, and he was sitting there, and Thor just comes in all of a sudden. He's like, "We mined this from the moon of Jupiter," and then Thor just comes up with this giant block of ice. It was like, "Yeah, I killed a frost giant for this. Here you go." And then he just immediately asks this girl out on a date. It's kind of funny. And then
Thor kind of picks up on Loki of last week. When we talked about the Loki book, I think all of us just agreed and they're like, they drank a lot. It was fun. They didn't read. Like,
Yeah.
didn't really give you any comics.
I know it's funny in She-Hulk. That was Thor's appearance too. Was them at the bar and he's like pounding a thing of
That's-
beer. I was like,
that's
that's Thor.
He's taking on a the Tony Stark mantle, I think, of this generation.
Pretty much.
Well, the thing that really sucked me into, because I was like, all right, I'll give it a, now that the Marvel Now is started, I'm going to go. And then the last page just has a dead Earth, and Galactus shows up and says, I hunger. And you just go,
Ooh,
this book is going places.
this could go somewhere.
It's alright.
If you haven't been reading that one, this is, you hate the Marvel Now, but it's really when they put that point now onto it, it means jump onto it. This is the best starting point. And I feel like this one, with the way that he went with the God Butcher series,
That was pretty
like, this is going to be one to follow again. It's going to be up there. You're going to be hearing
Yeah.
about it every week.
The cool thing about the Dot Nows is if you buy the physical book, the digital code they give you gives you that issue and the first trade.
Yeah.
So like whatever the first hardcover is. So if you haven't, like Nick said, if you've been like, I don't know about Thor, you
Keep
spend
the Marvel Now.
you spend $3.99, get this issue and the first 5 for
You have
$4.
You have
Yeah.
to buy it at your.
Yeah, you have to
shop.
go to a local shop, buy the physical issue.
Support your shops.
They give you a little code in there,
Something
and
I never do.
you know,
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
you digital bastard.
Hey, it's convenient. I'm supporting my guys the way I need to. I'll talk about that when we get to my highlights of the week.
But anyway, it's a super good value.
Marvel Now. If you're not buying it, buy it. Go get the hardcover.
It is worth
I will
it.
jump on that.
But that one's the one that I feel is definitely. I was almost on the fence, and then all of a sudden I was just like, "Oh yeah, this is going to be absolutely fucking
They
awesome."
pulled me back in.
Well, I'm just itching for you to talk about the next one because it's the one that we all read and we have yet to talk about. So I'm gonna go ahead and give you the little nudge forward, please.
The Winter Soldier.
Yes, the Winter Soldier. Winter Soldier #1. What do you
I absolutely loved it. I thought that was probably out of all of the number ones that have come out, that's probably up there. I
Yeah,
like
it was right
And
up there.
it's one of those things where it's a limited series, but
Mhm.
it's just going to be like, I don't even care if it's a limited series,
That was still good.
but it was just like the action had it. It had that old school feel because it was like Cold War '70s, and Remender just captured
Oh,
that
dude.
in a friggin' to the T, and
The
just
Bond style.
espionage and just freaking.
Jet setting Bond style
Yeah.
awesomeness. It was really good.
It was old school fun. Like they're breaking into a castle and like a
Yeah.
mountain.
Oh, yeah.
It's like it's just
on skis in the Swiss Alps somewhere. It
You
was
still have
awesome.
the cheesy Hail Hydra, and he's sitting there joking like, "Oh, what
What
am I
do I do
supposed
with
to
my
the other hand with my drink in it?" It's like,
Regardless, though, of if it's a shorter series, like a 5-issue series, I will say, if you read the Captain America, the Super Soldier ones, that was a pretty short. I think we only got to 7 or 8 issues. Or, not Super Soldier, it was the one-off digital one I was reading a couple months ago.
oh yeah.
I'll think of it in a moment.
It was like I think it was a 4-issue series.
Yeah, but if you read that and then this, you'll see exactly the kind of spin-off they're doing with this.
Mhm.
Winter Soldier is going to encapsulate that jet set style, whereas the Captain America one-off was total space race, digital, real in-depth, detailed art, opposed to like the real illustrated, kind of fun Winter Soldier we got. I was impressed. I loved it.
I liked because it is Winter Soldier, but Winter Soldier didn't show up till the very end of the book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just this mysterious thing that just came in out of nowhere. It just basically almost killed everybody, and everybody's afraid of, and just led up to this whole thing. It was like, this is going to be freaking awesome.
Would you have it any other way?
No.
What'd you think, Hal?
I loved it. Like I really did think it was good. I mean, I love Bond movies. Like I've seen every one. So I'm reading it. I'm
you
like,
can't even say
yes,
I love the Winter Soldier.
yes,
Has
yes.
to be Bond movies.
It was like a Bond movie, and it's
Watch your
cool.
Bond Blu-ray after
I
this?
kind of do.
I have some.
I go for some Dr. No.
I have Dr. No on Blu-ray. In fact, I just bought it last week.
Awesome!
What a coincidence! Hey,
Oh!
come back. Stay tuned for our Dr. No Pro out.
Watch out!
We're going to have a
Dr. No.
commentary where we're all hammered.
Behind the scenes, second bottle of wine, Dr. No. It does remind me of that, though, man. You're right. I had to laugh at you when you said that, but it's true. You can't even say, I like Winter Soldier without also saying, I love Bond.
That's great.
It's one and the same.
And the cool thing is, I guess from what Remender said in interviews, like this series is going to somehow loop into and kind of run with the themes going on in Captain America right now.
Yeah.
So it's cool because it's like a limited series and it's back in the day, but I guess it's all going to kind of tie together in his main
Yes, it
story
helps
for
that he's
Cap.
also running Captain
It
America.
sure does. It sure does. All right.
Nick, did you want to get
Anything
to the
else?
X-Force book? Or
Wanna touch
you
on
wanna
that?
Yeah, I do kind of a little bit
That,
because
eh?
I'm a huge Cable fan, but it was just like I liked it to a certain degree, and there was so much that I see a lot of potential for it. But Phantom X was awful. It was just basically whoever decided to write Phantom X, I think mistook him for Gambit.
Oh God.
So there
That's
was
bad.
that. Like the
Was he Cajun?
yeah, it was bad. They were trying to do a French accent and trying to do the whole French
Oh,
accent in roleplay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you read the X-Force that Remender did back before,
When Phantom X was awesome.
yeah, and you just go from that and like that's what you've got fresh in your mind, like I had, and then now all of a sudden here he comes and it's just like, oh, you're just a whiny little French bitch with a terrible accent. And,
You're like a real friend.
yeah. Yes.
If you're from France watching this, well, screw you.
But the other problem I had was the art was just didn't make sense with the book because the writing had a lot of narration from the newer character that was in X-Force, and goddamn, I can't remember her name now. But she
I
was
always thought that
lost her-
X-Force was kind of defined by their style, especially their art style.
Yeah. But it was just, it didn't work well with the writing and the dialogue because there were a lot of pages that were super heavy dialogue and Cable's up there trying to give a huge speech and all this kind of stuff going on. And then all of a sudden you have a huge fight scene going on and it was just kind of like, wait, hold on, I'm now really confused because I just spent so much time reading to jump into what's going on with this just no words whatsoever into just this crazy picture of
So
like
they're not putting it together.
yeah, it's just I feel like the artist and the writer aren't on the same page yet of what's going on. I will say I loved Psylocke's character. Freaking, that was absolutely fucking hysterical. Reading that, she just had like the humor down pat, and like that's what you come to get with the X-Force series. You know, it's a little bit. You gotta have that little tension builder, or break the tension a little bit because
Right,
it is such
right.
a darker kind of series of X-Men books, and she was there kind of as, the joke setter, but at the same time you go like, she's supposed to be killing everybody in like the most hardcore, and she's the one making the jokes.
I was saying, that is kind of odd for her.
So,
it was
so
hysterical, but at the same time I just don't feel like they have the characters set exactly.
So what do you give the book on a scale of 1 to 10?
I'd have to give it probably about a 5.
So you don't sound thrilled about it. You kind of
No.
you're talking around the point. Say what you feel.
No, it's
not a good book.
It's
Just
not. It's really not
pointing.
because when you put it up against, we were just talking about Winter Soldier and all these other books and Thor that came out.
That is true.
You look at something that's like the best books that Marvel's putting out with like Uncanny Adventures, and then you all of a sudden you read Cable
So good.
or just X-Force coming out, and you just
Right.
kind of go like, they're still kind of stuck in that like early 2000s, like where they were at kind of like their lowest. But
Hopefully they can find their footing and,
no, or if anything,
bring
they'll
it
just
together.
cut it off or restart it again.
Yeah.
If it's going to start from scratch, couldn't be any worse than
Yeah.
what you're telling me that the issue 1 was like. I
Yeah.
will not be reading that one this week. You can count on me to not read that.
So
I had a good indie week, I gotta say. You talked about Marvel. Kyle, you gave us a good rundown of DC and Marvel. Of course, your list was huge, but I had a pretty plain week. I read what I was really psyched to read last week, the John Carpenter Asylum. Blown away by this book. It's on issue 4, so it's been going on. I kind of missed the start of this. Demon, New York City, renegade cop shit meets like Max Payne. It's pretty cool. Really dark. Love that. Also read Mercenary Seas. I kind of showed you the panels from that earlier.
Yeah, that was a cool art style.
It's weird, it's like a little bit silhouette. Reminded me a little bit of Winter Soldier. I read those together.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. They both were very monochrome.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of had that like pop to them. It was good. I liked Mercenary Seas. I would recommend it. Not more than I would recommend though the 2 gems that I read this week. The Fuse came out, which you were kind of looking for.
yeah,
Image has been hyping this book pretty much ever since Saga. This has been like in the back covers of Saga. It's
Yeah.
been in the back covers of Hickman's book, God is Dead.
Mhm.
A lot of people have been talking about the Fuse. I think it was even in Sex Criminals in the first one. But I
yeah,
could
it
be
was. It
wrong
was
about
one of the
that.
back pages. Of
Right. It's cool. It was definitely worth it. Issue 1 was not great by any means, but you can tell the world they put you in is going to be fucking huge. Like total Saga-esque traveling. The Fuse is where it takes place, obviously. A real dystopian kind of space station feel to it, but it's pretty good. I'd recommend The Fuse. One of the coolest books I read, though, was The Nobodies. So this book takes place in Buffalo, where we're from. I
Shout
tweeted...
out,
Buffalo! Chicken wings. So I tweeted John Vincent this week. He's the writer. And he's following us on Twitter now. I'm going to hook him up with Alpha the Source. We'll kind of follow us on Twitter. I'm going to be retweeting his stuff because this guy's great, dude.
Yeah.
As soon as I sent him a friend request, he followed me. And the first thing I sent him was like, oh, great book. Just amazing. You know, thank you right away, like within a minute. So...
Cool.
It was awesome, dude. Real indie. It's in black and white. They don't even have a color yet. It's on an independent publisher, so you won't find it at like your local shops. I kind of asked Kyle to go find it today for me.
Yeah, there was none of it.
I was hoping, like maybe in Buffalo, someone might have picked it up.
I know, I'm surprised. I'm surprised some of the bigger shops. I got a little shop, but maybe some of the bigger
Queen
ones
City
might have
probably
it.
had it. They got a lot of
Plus, if you
indie
knew
shit.
it was coming, you could have probably been like,
Yeah,
hey,
yeah.
Oh, pick that up, right?
Yeah.
Or order it for me. Would have been worth it. It's great. Really odd story. It reminds me of The Walking Dead a lot, but the writing is what kicks ass.
Mhm.
Nothing
So-
wrong with being reminded
Yeah.
of the Walking
Yeah,
Dead.
they're doing okay.
Oh, dude, John Vincent, props, man. Great book. Loved it. The Nobodies, just check it out. Comicsology, if you've got it, I will retweet
How do you
it.
spell that? Because that's not probably how you would expect somebody to spell.
The Nobodies?
Yeah.
It's just Nobodies.
Nobody.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I'll retweet it.
Nobodies.
Follow us at Alpha the Source on Twitter, and we'll be showing you the link. Nobodies. And that was it. Winter Soldier was my last. We were talking about that.
The soldier.
So that was good.
Yeah.
And that's what we read this week. So
That was a pretty
lot.
hefty
We did-
week.
It was, dude. It was
Yeah.
a good week. We've kind of been, we lucked out the past 2 weeks. We really did.
There's a lot of good stuff out right now.
Those number ones kind of blew past me, though, from last week. I'm going to have to go back. and read
So
them.
now that we have like most of them coming out of the fur now, which one do you encompass all of that? What was your favorite?
The best out of everything from the past
All
2 weeks.
all the new Marvel Nows number ones.
Loki.
You want to go first?
Yeah, Loki.
Loki. I agree. I
That's
have to
all
go
I'll say.
Loki.
Just Loki.
I think She-Hulk.
Really? Okay, I'm reading this later in the day.
It really pulled me in because it's a character I've never read. I mean, if she's been in like a teen book, I've read her just because I've been reading that book. But
Civil War, she had a lot of them.
yeah, and I went into it just thinking, oh, I'll give this a shot. It's $3. I've spent $3 on worse.
Are we going to talk about it in the podcast?
Exactly. I mean, this is my job now, so I'll do it. But I'm reading it, I'm like, man, this is goddamn good. So I'll be buying
It was a
issue
really,
two.
it was a good page turner. You just sat there and read the whole thing. But I don't know. I like Loki, and I'm gonna stand by it because I feel like I really like where it's going more than the other ones. Like the issue 1 for that one, like I said, was like what an issue 1 should be. You
For
start
sure.
reading it, you have a bunch of fun, and then all of a sudden on the very last page, go, okay, this is gonna be.
It had a
you have
great last
just
page.
no idea what's gonna come up next. And She-Hulk is one of. It's great. I have high hopes for this, but I hope it does well. I'm definitely gonna be continuing by it, but I just feel like as a continuing series, I'm really liking where Loki's gonna be going.
Yeah, and Loki's going to be the better book, I think. But I will read She-Hulk. I'll stand by that. Besides the Marvel books we just talked about, we got some new stuff coming out. New series from Marvel. What do we think? What are we looking forward to?
Well, kind of the big news this week is spinning out of all new X-Men 23 is Cyclops' father, Corsair, who was on the Starjammers, kind of a cosmic group in Marvel, was thought to be dead, is alive, kind of shows up, and young Cyclops is like, well, who is this? Why are you calling him Captain Summers?
Daddy?
So they're going to spin this off into Cyclops. As eventually, I'm guessing after the Jean Grey storyline, is going to decide he wants to stay in space, and they're going to do an ongoing with just Cyclops hanging out in space with his daddy.
But that's the thing that I don't get most about all of this as the announcement is they're going to take Cyclops, and they made this huge stint even before Battle of the Atom. Where we're like, you guys got to go back, and they're like, we're going to have a new Cyclops, where clearly they're not going back
Right.
in time.
Besides what we talked about with Magneto coming out last week and all the hype we gave that, the coolest thing I think about the Cyclops in space kind of story arc that they could do is that it's one example where Marvel might come to their senses about what they do in space. A lot of their scenes in whether it's like a sword side story or like Illuminati, like anything they do that's really heavy cosmology is too grand. Cyclops has one of the strongest powers of any mutant. If you put that in space, just the physics restrictions that you would have on Earth would become non-existent. Cyclops' powers in space could be like Phoenix blowing crazy. That's what I'm really looking forward
I wouldn't
to.
say Phoenix level style, but I see what you're saying, and I don't know. Just going from what I've read, especially with a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy, I feel Cyclops' powers aren't that grand in scale, because on the cosmic scale of things in the Marvel Universe, once you go outside of Earth,
Yeah.
you're nowhere.
There's a lot of you're going to get slapped
there's
down hard.
Yeah, like Cyclops is going to just meet up against Galactus for the first time. Guess who's going to win?
Well, that's what I'm kind of excited for.
And people can, in the Marvel Universe in space that are on places in other dimensions that aren't haven't even been named, could just meet Galactus randomly and just smack him down with no fucking effort. So,
But it's like you said, I didn't see this coming. It's not like I don't like it, but it does seem very odd. I mean, it's obviously a great dynamic for a young Cyclops to be like, "This is my dad." Like you get to see that all over again. But
Well,
it's still like a weird choice. And the writer too, Greg Rucka, who I was talking to these guys off camera about, he really hasn't done anything very cosmic. And I guess when it breaks down, it's going to be a father-son dynamic. But it's in space. So it's going to be a really, like, this is the only series that they've kind of announced that I'm like, I don't know about this one. Like, it's weird.
yeah, it's just confused me more so because this is one of those ones where it came out of nowhere, and it was like
Yeah, it really did.
until it came out, obviously, because when Guardians came out, they're like, oh yeah, here we are, I mean, this is what we're gonna do. But it was just kind of like one of those things where, for me, it was just kind of going like, weren't they so hell-bent on getting these kids back to their own time period? Like, that's the biggest thing. And it didn't happen in the Battle of the Atom for unforeseen things. And now the Shi'ar stole Jean Grey.
Yeah.
So now you can't send them all back because she's on trial. This is coming.
See, this is why you guys are a little bit too into the Marvel and this stuff for me. At the very heart of all what you guys talk about in this, I'm always going, I like X-Men Legacy. I like one book that's weird and different. I don't like to follow the trial of Jean Grey. I'm sorry. It's too much. It's like Avengers. If I tried to read every Avengers book, I would go crazy trying to keep up. I don't know how you do
But I love the epic.
Well, I've been following the X-Men for God knows how long.
He doesn't know
life,
anybody else.
Yeah, no, it's
So any X-Men event going on, I'm right there.
for sure. Then Greg Rucka will do the Cyclops ongoing. He's going to come up later on in your recommendations.
Yep.
That'd be good. Amazing Spider-Man Year 1. You're telling me about this. Kind of didn't realize that as Superior Spider-Man ends and Peter Parker comes back, they're also going to do kind of a period piece.
Yeah, Amazing Spider-Man is going to start after Superior ends because Peter Parker's coming back. And then I guess as a 5-issue companion to it, they're going to be doing Amazing Spider-Man Year 1, where they show adventures of Spider-Man that happen in like the Stan Lee era, but like kind of between the scenes that you've already seen. So like it's not going to contradict stuff, it's not going to retell stuff, but it's going to be like, this also happened.
Little
back in the
reminders.
day. Yeah.
Right.
So I mean, like I was talking about before, it's just going to be, it's another one where I'm like, I don't know where they're going with it, which I like, because Spider-Man's going to basically be like a blank slate when he comes back. So it's going to be,
I'm going to throw a tangent in the
weird.
mix. Do you guys remember when the Deadpool annual did the Peter Parker issue? They had the original prints of Stan Lee's tints, and they just put Deadpool.
That wasn't the
Peter Parker.
annual. That was just back in the.
Oh, it was just a random issue?
Yeah, it was
I
just
thought
a
it was like
random
a
issue.
number one. Or like
Yeah,
a
that was
crazy
just. I
event.
think it was like somewhere in the teens. It was.
I just thought about that with the Year 1. It was kind of...
Deadpool got lost in time
as
and.
Blind Ale.
Yeah, why? You want to get into Deadpool? That's actually good.
Sorry,
That's a good one.
this is where I go. If you talk about Deadpool at the beginning of the podcast, my whole episode's ruined. That's all.
nothing but
I'm gonna
Deadpool.
do. But it looks good. I'm excited for Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, like I said, it's a cool idea. It's just another one. That's kind of what I like, is Marvel's doing a lot of things you wouldn't expect, but they kind of always turn out to be kind of good.
For sure. She-Hulk.
They haven't really made like a
Superior
huge
Spider-Man.
misstep.
Well, shit. X-Men Legacy. That's a bold step to take. That's like
Yeah.
a Indiana Jones. Is there a bridge there? That's the leap of faith right there, dude.
That's
Anyway,
true.
good stuff all around. Marvel had some good books. We're going to shift gears. We're going to take you into the later part of our podcast to talk about our upcoming. So, last week is done. A new Wednesday approaches. New comics book week. I'm going to kick us off. I'm excited for another Image #1. I think Image is in a running with Marvel. Like, how many #1s can we sneak out in this like winter season where people are probably buying these?
Image has a ton.
Dude, so many, and I'm broke buying them all. White Suits #1. Don't know anything about this book. Just simply buying it because I saw it. In
It's got a #1 next to it.
I love it. I love it. I can't
Sold.
help it. Dude. You know what? They pull at my heartstrings. I like it. You get so much more variety with buying Image #1s than you do Marvel #1s. I'm sorry, you do.
Oh yeah, because you're not working with a preset like here's your characters. With
Well,
Image,
for
you'd
sure.
be like, well, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to write about.
Like
It's
Black
good,
Science
do it.
when that came out.
Still have not read that yet either, but I'm just gonna move on. I'm gonna buy my first. Ignore. Like your banter script. Never mind. I'm breaking the fourth wall now.
Doing the recommendation
Deadpool.
next week, and it's
Damn
going
it.
to be Black Science.
Black goddamn
Black
science.
Actually, we're gonna have a special podcast. It's just these two finally reading it.
Yeah.
Just
Just
sitting
silence for
quietly.
30 minutes. Just
Yeah, Nick. We like it, Nick.
Nick, get us some nachos. I'm gonna buy my first Dark Horse comic next week. I'm gonna buy Star Wars. They're doing a Darth Vader series called Cry of Shadows. Gonna just check it out. Don't know what it is. This is one of those things where I'm like, try something new this week. Gonna
I like
get
it.
that.
I like it.
Right, we gotta
Be
gotta mix it
bold.
up a little bit. Someone's gotta review this shit. It might as well be me.
Little guy.
Might as well be this Jabberjaw shark.
Mm-hmm.
God is Dead, Hickman. I don't know how they put out issues as fast as they do, but I fucking love it. So, yeah, I'll be buying that one next week. And probably shooting my load about it all over you next week.
Wow.
Stay tuned.
Graphic.
God is Dead. If you haven't read that yet, dude, go pick up #1. It's going to be on sale probably when they release number
You too can
7.
shoot a load.
You too can shoot a God is Dead load. And it's way more morbid than the title sounds. So there's always that. Kyle, what are you buying on that note?
Well, nothing quite load shooting, but stuff I'm excited about nonetheless. Justice League 28 is going to be continuing the Forever Evil because it's just never fucking ending.
That's
But
why
it's
they call
cool.
it forever.
It's one of those Land Before It. Never mind. Never mind.
Continue, Kyle.
So anyway, Cyborg is kind of taking over in the Justice League here, and he's fighting to get all the heroes back, and he's joining up with the Metal Men. First time seeing him in the New 52, so that's kind of exciting. Amazing X-Men #4. Really just for the art. Like, the art in this book is just so kick-ass.
Really?
I
I
read
want
number
Nightcrawler
one.
to come back.
Oh no,
Yeah, talk about that.
I like the story. I like Nightcrawler, but the art in this book is just
I'm waiting for the
phenomenal.
fucking epic Azazel fucking Nightcrawler fight between
Bam,
the
bam,
two
bam,
of
bam,
them.
bam, 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 bam.
On a fucking pirate ship.
Bam,
Like,
bam.
comics don't
It is
hit me any
crazy.
harder than that one
A
right
pirate
there.
ship going through hell.
With the pirate cannons in the BAMF.
Yeah.
Where's the sulfur? Is it a mutant or is it cannon fodder? Who knows?
And then the Daredevil 36.
Oh.
The closing
You guys,
of this
I knew
chapter.
You guys were gonna just geek out all over this.
Yeah.
Don't tell me there's no cum bloating books for you guys next week. I'm sure that you're gonna be.
That
all
one,
over it.
even though I know
this
it's coming
smart
back,
is
this is
nothing.
going to be a little tearful. It's the end of this volume. I have to wait all the way until like March.
That's gonna be like every other book where they
It's like
finally
every
just
time I
fucking
read
go to San
Saga, man.
Francisco.
Right. Daredevil, you guys are all into it. I read a few.
It's 'cause it's good,
but-
Joseph.
Our director
No.
has been starting to get into freaking Daredevil, and he doesn't read comics.
It's true.
That's true.
So if that's telling you something, Joe,
I
you
feel
should
like
probably start freaking
The
reading
power of the Daredevil!
sometimes with Daredevil and Superior Spider-Man, I get into a situation where it's like Lost, the TV show. If I didn't have 4 seasons of that DVD like ready, because I had to watch all of them at once, like I was like, "Oh, this is really good," or just gobble all
Almost
4 seasons up at
consumed.
once.
Yeah, I did
That's
that
what
with
I do
Red
with these
Lanterns.
comics.
So.
I like to wait. When I have 30 issues, I will go nuts. That'll be my afternoon.
Yeah, well, you're there. You're
Yeah.
at 36, so.
All right, I'm there. I'll
In a few
read-
days.
I'll fucking read Daredevil.
It's done.
next evening, guys.
Well, basically, I have the same pretty much as Kyle, except for Justice
One
League.
little.
I have one extra one. Mine is X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. And I'm really looking forward to this because it's going to continue into Trilogy and Grey because all the new X-Men, for some reason, just left to go with the few, like, Cyclops and Magneto and all those guys. And I'm really confused because now they all just left all of a sudden for no reason. So I'm like really looking forward to this going like, how is this book gonna fare in the future now that Magneto's gonna be leaving and now
they're gone.
Basically the all new X-Men that came into them basically just left for no reason whatsoever. So I'm pretty intrigued to see where they're gonna take just them randomly just leaving into space, pretty much.
Personally, right now, I think the best X-Men characters are in the offshoot X-Men books, X-Men Legacy, and Wolverine and the X-Men. I think those are great tales. I think
You love Dupe?
Dupe is awesome. I can't wait for there to be
I love me
a
some
movie. Dupe and Wolverine getting drunk and going to a strip club.
So wait for once
seen.
Wolverine and the X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men finally gets done. Dupe will have his own
series. I remember us talking about this. I can't wait.
with Croca.
Dude,
Dupe
would
with Croca.
party. You guys would party with Dupe if he was here.
Oh,
right
hell
now.
yeah.
Yes. Tell me
Dupe
there's
is the
one
shit.
comic book character we'd rather party with.
Dupe is good stuff. I can't
Maybe
deny it.
Tony Stark. That'd be a.
I think Iceman would be a lot of fun. Bobby.
You're just an X-Men freak, dude. You'd go all Wayne's from Wayne's World on it.
Fuck that. He'd be like, he just do like his whole thing where him and I would get really drunk and we'd have ice slides to go around places.
You just watch too much luge in the Olympics. It's so cheap. That's all you're doing with this
It's so
Iceman
fun.
stuff. Okay, take us through your last anticipated book here, guy. What's that? Yeah,
That's it, because I got Amazing
It's over.
X-Men
You
because
choose
I
a
have
whole
X-Men and Pirates and fucking Bamfs and shit.
Bamfs.
Fucking Bamfs.
You guys should hold hands, go to the comic book store together, enjoy your.
No, we're gonna
your
skip
little
to the comic
together.
book stores.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting next week. I think this week we read a lot of the same stuff.
Right.
Next week I think we're going to branch off, so it'll be good. So stay tuned for next week. Kyle is going to take us home. If you're watching our last episode or if you didn't see it, check it out on our backlogs. Kyle recommended us Enemy of the State, Wolverine book. I read 3/4 of the first issue. I got really busy this week with some stuff and I didn't read it. I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework.
It's
But
okay.
we're going to make this a thing. Kyle is now going to take us through a little recap of more about Enemy of the State, and he's going to do another recommendation
Because they wouldn't let me recommend Black Science.
you've already recommended Black Science. They know
Everything
Black
about you
Science.
is Black Science.
Everything about you is Remender. Oh my god. But Kyle, take us through. Tell us a little bit about your recommendations.
Yeah, so Enemy of the State, as I mentioned last week, in honor of Romita coming to DC, it's just a great example of his storytelling, his art. It's Wolverine just hacking his way through the Marvel Universe. He gets taken over by the Hand. So he gets killed, resurrected, he's brainwashed. They send him on this just mission against like, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, Captain America, basically every who's who he ends up fighting. And it's just like kick-ass fight scenes of him taking down ninjas and fighting all the heroes, and it's just a badass story.
This is way more badass than when you described it to me originally.
Because I didn't want to spoil it, because you said, like, we're going to read it. Now I'm like, well, you didn't read it, so
I wish you
whatever.
would. I'm like, this is just boring.
I knew about
shit.
this
I'll get to
story,
it
but I
eventually.
never read it. So
Now
It's
I'm gonna be
definitely
like,
worth it.
where does he go?
Issue 1 is a lot of setup, and then he starts clawing people in the face.
I can't wait now. Now I don't want to stand up and see. We'll just put it that way.
Mm.
Yes. Never doubt this man. God.
Boner
I learned a
jokes!
terrible lesson.
You really did.
I learned a terrible lesson right there.
Alright, so, in sticking with the theme of Romita was the big news, they're recommending a Romita book. Rucka's the kind of big news, so I'm going to recommend an old Rucka book.
Drum roll.
Gotham Central.
Boom.
It was a DC book
Rockets in flight. Pew!
from about 10 years ago. And it focused not so much on Batman, but in the Batman world, the major crimes unit. So, like the cops that also dealt with the villains and the world of Gotham. So, Batman's kind of like a minor character in it, and it showed how they deal with the heroes and how they deal with the villains when the heroes aren't around. It was just a really cool characterization, just a really great book. Like, again, a street level kind of, if you want a good crime story, a good character story. This is what Rucka really excels at. So it's a great example of his writing.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Dark Knight a little bit from what you're telling me. You know, a lot of like newscasts, like alternate. Most of the panels in that book were like, tonight Dunning was 4.
95% of the piles in
Yeah,
that
it was
book.
a lot.
I like their newscasts.
Sounds cool. I'm excited. I like that this is gonna be a thing where you recommend books and we banter across. Like, yeah, we'll read it.
Sure will.
No, I did read 3/4 of Enemy of the State, and I probably will read this because I'm always looking for good backlog DC stuff. Marvel Unlimited, I'm kind of spoiled with that.
Yeah.
I get free access to anything, so I do read a lot of random old stuff.
When you started actually explaining the plot to the Rucka book and all that, I was like, oh, I've heard a lot about this, and I really don't follow or read DC too much. And if it's gonna make a splash on me to, back in the day, especially, it's like this was a great book, a huge series. It's like that's got a lot of potential, and it's that's all it is, just your backstory, and kind of similar to the She-Hulk and Hawkeye of like, okay, here's the Gotham Police Department when they're not dealing with supervillains and that kind of deal.
Right.
It's not big over the top. It's like these are real people. Like this is my life.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Freeze is gonna smash in here, and the Joker just bombed like a school, and we don't have powers. We're just gonna go deal with it.
Yeah.
A good theme for the night. We were talking about this with our Marvel things at the beginning of the night too, with She-Hulk. Perfect tie-in. This is what we like to see, I guess, in comics, like a little bit of reality, a little bit of the real world. I love these recommendations, dude. You can't, if you're gonna read the books that we tell you about every week or recap the stuff you read last week with us, please take our recommendations on these old ones too, because you really need them.
They're definitely worth it.
Yes. What do you can pick these up for how much if you wanted to go buy it?
Pretty cheap.
Oh,
I mean, the trades are like dirt cheap. I don't know if DC is terrible with their digital. I'm not sure if they
Wait
have
for
it
a sale.
digitized yet, but if they don't, even if you just have to go on like Amazon or your local comic book shop and order them, they're pretty cheap.
You can get them on a sale on Comixology. Wait for the sales for DC, and
Just
also
write it down and wait for a sale. 'cause
Right.
They do
check for the graphic
weekend
novel
sales.
collections too. A lot of those got remade and then republished, and DC will put those on Comixology for about $15. So that's a good pickup if you like the digital. So Enemy of the State and Gotham. I'm sorry.
Gotham Central.
Gotham Central. Greg Rucka. Excellent. We have some homework to do, Nick. I think we have a lot of reading to do. As always.
Hooray.
Damn it! You guys told me this would be fun and about comics and drinking beer. I've done more reading than
I drank wine, dude. I think I told you that.
I did drink wine. It was delicious though.
Oh well, that's really what you're going for.
We made a few French jokes too, so I thought that was kind of appropriate.
That was a
I'll
win.
be there for you.
And on that Friends sing-along, I think we're going to wrap it up. Guys, thanks for sticking with us as every week, as you do. Had a great time this week. Can't wait till Comic Book Day. Happy reading. Follow us on Twitter at Alpha the Source. Nick, say your handle as always.
Nick_Schneider 7.
Get a new damn handle. Kyle,
Big Lyle 82.
at Big Lyle 82. I am always at JoeFist LKPT. That's Lockport. Happy Comic Book Day, everybody. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.
Queen Way.